Welcome to Health 2660. Here we don't just talk about health, we tell the stories that heal. Now please listen to the story. I used to think I was doing everything right. I packed my son's lunch with the best food I could afford: yogurt tubes, colorful cereal fruit snacks labeled all natural. We drank flavored water, ate low-fat everything, and I made sure to buy whatever said heart healthy or fortified with vitamins. I thought I was being a good mom. But then everything started to change. It began subtly. My son Jamie, who was always full of energy, became different. He couldn't sit still in class. His teacher said he was disrupting lessons. He was more irritable, had meltdowns over tiny things. At first, I thought it was just a phase. Kids get moody, right? Then one day, I got a call from the school. "Mrs. Thompson, we need to talk about Jamie. He had an episode in class today. He couldn't stop yelling. We had to call the school counselor." I froze. When I picked him up, his eyes were swollen from crying. He kept saying he didn't know what was wrong with him. "I just couldn't think straight, Mom." That night, I sat in bed, replaying the day. I was scared, confused, and if I'm honest, ashamed. What was I missing? We took Jamie to a pediatrician. After some evaluations, the doctor mentioned ADHD and recommended trying medication. But something in my gut hesitated. I wasn't against medicine, but I felt like we were missing the root cause. I wanted to try something else first. A friend recommended a holistic nutritionist. I was skeptical, but desperate. I still remember the first thing she asked me: "Can you walk me through what Jamie eats in a typical day?" So I listed it out: his go-gurt, in the morning cereal with milk fruit, snacks at lunch, maybe some pizza or nuggets for dinner. She didn't interrupt, but at the end, she simply said, "Let's start by removing artificial dyes, high-fructose corn syrup, and seed oils." I blinked. What does yogurt have to do with behavior? She smiled kindly. Everything. I went home that night and started Googling. What I found broke my heart. Red 40, yellow 5, blue 1, all linked to hyperactivity in children. High-fructose corn syrup, strongly associated with insulin resistance, obesity, even mood swings. Canola oil, soybean oil, cheap oils loaded with omega-6s that promote inflammation and affect brain function. And yet, these were in nearly everything we ate. My so-called healthy yogurt had more sugar than ice cream. The whole grain cereal had 5 artificial dyes. Even the granola bars had preservatives I couldn't pronounce. That night, I cried. Not just because I felt guilty, but because I realized we had been sold a lie. Food isn't food anymore. It's a product, a formula, designed for shelf life, not for health. The next morning, I told Jamie we were doing something different. No more cereal, no more yogurt tubes. I made scrambled eggs with spinach and avocado. He frowned. "Where's my go-gurt?" I smiled nervously. "We're trying something new." He didn't like it. The first week was hard. He begged for his usual snacks, cried at the grocery store when I wouldn't buy his favorite cereal. At school, he traded his lunch for someone else's Oreos. But I held firm. We cooked together, talked about real food, how it grows, what it does in our bodies. I showed him how sugar affects his brain, how fake colors are banned in other countries, but still legal in ours. By week 3, something shifted. Jamie's teacher called. "I don't know what you're doing, but it's working." He's calmer, focused. He even helped another student today. I nearly dropped the phone. I looked at Jamie. That evening, he was building Legos, quietly, humming to himself. No tantrums, no outbursts. Was this really from food? It wasn't magic. It wasn't instant. But it was real. I kept researching. That's when I learned about the grass loophole, how food companies can label chemicals as generally recognized as safe without notifying the FDA. They hire their own experts to sign off on ingredients. No independent review, no transparency. And these chemicals banned in Europe. Still in American cereal. I learned about school lunches, packed with seed oils, sugar, and processed meats filled with nitrates that can turn into carcinogens when heated. I saw how SNAP benefits, government-funded food stamps, were often used to buy soda candy and chips. We were literally funding sickness. And then I heard someone speaking out, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. For the first time, someone in public health was saying what parents like me have known in our hearts all along. Food shouldn't make our kids sick. In 6 months, Jamie was a different child. He still had energy, lots of it, but it was grounded. He could focus. He started sleeping better. Even his eczema improved. I changed too. I stopped buying anything with a health claim on the box. I started reading ingredients, not calories. I found joy in cooking again. I felt connected to what I fed my family. We weren't perfect. We had birthday cake. We had pizza nights. But the foundation had changed. Food became nourishment, not noise. Some people say banning harmful ingredients is controlling, that it limits personal freedom. But I ask, when did we start calling poison a personal choice? When a 5-year-old is handed neon cereal and fluorescent yogurt labeled healthy, is that freedom or deception? When families in low-income areas have only ultra-processed food on the shelves, are they choosing sickness or being cornered into it? This isn't about judgment. It's about awareness. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just one mom who woke up, and I want to tell you, if your child is struggling with focus anxiety, sleep behavior, it's not always just how they are. Sometimes it's what's on their plate. Start with one thing. Cut the artificial dyes. Swap the soda for water. Replace seed oils with olive oil or butter. Read the labels. Ask questions. Don't trust the front of the box. Read the back. Real food doesn't have to be expensive. Just simple, honest. One morning, as we packed lunch, Jamie looked at me and said, "Mom, can you make the broccoli thing again? The one with the garlic and butter?" I paused. The broccoli thing. Yeah, it tastes better than the nuggets at school. That's when I knew. We weren't just surviving. We were healing. Food isn't just food. It's information. It tells your body what to do. It tells your child's brain how to grow. It tells your cells whether to fight or fail. Let's choose better stories to tell with our plates, because our children are listening. If this story speaks to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with another parent, another caregiver, another soul trying to protect the people they love. And if you're ready to reclaim health from the inside out, start with your kitchen, because that's where healing begins. But this was only the beginning of Sarah's journey. After seeing the dramatic improvement in Jamie's health, she felt compelled to share her newfound knowledge with other parents. She started a blog, initially just sharing her recipes and tips for avoiding processed foods. She named it The Real Food Revolution. A bit dramatic, she admitted, but it captured her passion. Her first few posts were met with polite interest from friends and family. But then, one of her articles titled, "The Hidden Dangers in Your Child's Cereal," went viral. Suddenly, Sarah was inundated with messages from parents across the country, all echoing similar experiences to hers. They were desperate for help, confused by conflicting information, and feeling betrayed by the food industry. Sarah quickly realized that her blog had become more than just a hobby. It was a platform for a growing community of parents who were demanding change. She started hosting online workshops, teaching parents how to read food labels, how to cook healthy meals on a budget, and how to advocate for healthier school lunches. One of the biggest challenges she faced was the sheer complexity of the food industry. The more she researched, the more she uncovered. She learned about the powerful lobbying groups that influenced food policy, the deceptive marketing tactics used to target children, and the lack of regulation when it came to food additives and preservatives. She connected with other activists and organizations working to reform the food system. She learned about the fight to label GMOs, the efforts to ban artificial dyes, and the push for healthier school lunch programs. She realized that her personal journey with Jamie had led her to a much larger battle. Sarah's work didn't go unnoticed. She was invited to speak at conferences, interviewed on podcasts, and even featured in a national news magazine. She became a leading voice in the movement for real food, advocating for policies that would protect children's health and empower parents to make informed choices. Of course, her newfound platform also brought criticism. She was accused of being an alarmist, a food snob, and even a conspiracy theorist. Some people argued that she was unfairly demonizing processed foods and that parents should be able to choose what they feed their children. Sarah responded to the criticism with grace and facts. She emphasized that she wasn't trying to tell people what to do, but rather to provide them with information so they could make their own informed decisions. She pointed to the growing body of scientific evidence linking processed foods to a variety of health problems, including obesity, diabetes, ADHD, and even cancer. She also stressed that access to healthy food was a matter of social justice. She argued that low-income communities were disproportionately targeted with unhealthy food advertising and that they often lacked access to fresh, affordable produce. She called for policies that would address these disparities and ensure that all children have the opportunity to grow up healthy. One of the most impactful things Sarah did was to partner with local schools to improve their lunch programs. She worked with school administrators, teachers, and parents to create healthier menus, eliminate processed foods, and incorporate more fresh fruits and vegetables. She even helped to start school gardens, where students could learn about growing their own food. These efforts were met with resistance from some corners. Some students complained that the new lunches were boring or tasteless. Some parents worried that the healthier options would be more expensive, and some school administrators were hesitant to make changes that could be unpopular or difficult to implement. But Sarah persevered. She organized taste tests to introduce students to new foods. She worked with local farmers to source affordable produce, and she partnered with community organizations to provide cooking classes and nutrition education for parents. Slowly but surely, the school lunch programs began to transform. Students started eating more fruits and vegetables. They were more focused in class, and they had more energy throughout the day. The schools also saw a decrease in absenteeism and disciplinary problems. Sarah's work in the schools inspired her to start a nonprofit organization called the Real Food for Kids Foundation. The foundation provided grants to schools and community organizations that were working to improve children's access to healthy food. It also funded research on the impact of food on children's health. Through her foundation, Sarah was able to expand her reach and impact even further. She worked with hospitals to create healthier meal options for patients. She partnered with food banks to distribute fresh produce to families in need. And she advocated for policies that would make healthy food more affordable and accessible for everyone. One of Sarah's proudest accomplishments was her work on the Healthy Food Financing Initiative, a program that provided grants and loans to businesses that were working to bring healthy food to underserved communities. The initiative helped to fund the construction of new grocery stores, farmers markets, and community gardens in areas that had previously lacked access to fresh, healthy food. The initiative was a huge success, creating jobs, stimulating local economies, and improving the health of countless families. It also served as a model for other states and cities across the country. Despite all her success, Sarah never forgot where she started. She always remembered the fear and confusion she felt when Jamie started struggling in school. She never forgot the guilt she felt when she realized she had been unknowingly feeding him unhealthy food. And she never forgot the joy she felt when she saw him transform into a healthy, happy child. That's why she continued to share her story with anyone who would listen. She wanted other parents to know that they weren't alone. She wanted them to know that they had the power to change their children's lives by simply changing what they ate. And she wanted them to know that they could create a healthier, more just food system for all. One evening, as Sarah was preparing dinner, Jamie came into the kitchen. He was now a teenager, tall and athletic, with a bright smile and a contagious laugh. "Hey, Mom," he said. "What are you making?" "I'm making your favorite," Sarah replied. "Broccoli with garlic and butter." Jamie grinned. "Awesome. I'm starving." As they sat down to eat, Sarah looked at her son with a sense of gratitude and pride. She had come a long way since those early days of yogurt tubes and colorful cereal. She had learned so much about food health and the power of community, and she had helped to create a world where all children had the opportunity to thrive. But her work was far from over. She knew that the fight for real food would continue for years to come, but she was ready for the challenge. She had the knowledge, the passion, and the support of a growing movement of parents, activists, and organizations who were committed to creating a healthier future for all. As time passed, Sarah was no longer the young, overwhelmed mom in the kitchen. Jamie had grown up healthy and strong. He'd become a real chef, following his passion. One day, Sarah received a message from him. "Mom, I'm opening my first restaurant. I want you to be there. The first dish on the menu is your garlic butter broccoli." She smiled, her heart full of pride. What she had done for her son hadn't just changed his health, it had planted a seed. And now, Jamie was growing something beautiful from it. At the grand opening, Jamie stood in front of the crowd and shared, "My mom was the first person who taught me that food isn't just about filling your stomach. It's about caring for yourself, connecting with others, and respecting your body." Sarah didn't say much. She simply nodded, eyes glistening. She knew she didn't need a spotlight or an award. Big changes often start with small decisions, like cooking one real meal at home. Even in her later years, Sarah continued to share what she'd learned. She blogged, posted simple recipes, and helped parents understand food labels. Sometimes she visited local schools, not to preach, but to listen and support. She never aimed to change the whole world. She just believed that if each family made one small shift, cutting one artificial snack, adding one home-cooked meal, something good would start to happen. One peaceful Friday afternoon, Sarah stood in her small backyard garden, watching the tomato plants she'd grown herself. From the kitchen came the sound of Jamie laughing with her grandchildren. She smiled. The real food revolution had never been loud or flashy. It began and continued with love, understanding, and honest meals shared together. Health 2660. Thanks you for listening. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, be kind to yourself.